In breaking news, multiple outlets are sounding the alarm over Trump's scheme to seize the 2026 midterm elections, which of course would derail his dictator fantasies. And I have it all, including a breakdown of the scheme for you next. I'm Dan and welcome to another Occupy Democrats report. To see all of our videos exposing Trump's continued destruction and his continued demise, please hit that subscribe button. Let's begin with clips that signal the panic that is happening in Trump's White House. As his unfiltered musings increase and his popularity decreases, the Republican majority is at great risk and he is reeking of desperate vulnerability.
You got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
President Trump has talked twice in recent days, once at the Kennedy Center and then to Reuters again last night about canceling the election. Why is he talking about this?
I believe you're referring to the president's interview at Reuters last night. I was in that interview. It was a closed-door interview. Obviously, there was not audio or video. The president was simply joking. He was saying, we're doing such a great job. We're doing everything the American people thought. Maybe we should just keep rolling. But he was speaking facetiously.
You said that he was joking about canceling the elections, but Americans for generations have fought and died for democracy, for this democracy. Are you saying that the president finds the idea of canceling elections funny?
Andrew, were you in the room? No, you weren't. I was in the room. I heard the conversation, and only someone like you would take that so seriously and pose it as a question in that way.
And now watch as Jim Acosta and Jennifer Welch really dig into that Trump vulnerability.
It's more than just the Dems win back the Congress and the White House. We have to change this John Roberts Supreme Court decision that gave the President of the United States a blank check. No man or woman should be above the law in this country. And Donald Trump sure as should not be above the law in this country. And I think the Democrats have to talk about it in these terms, that, listen, if we get back in there, and I'm not saying I'm part of the Democratic Party, but I'm saying that this is the way the Democrats should communicate. They should say when they're back in there, if you guys are going to cling to this idea that Donald Trump is unaccountable, it's just not going to work. And that means adding seats to the Supreme Court so that immunity decision can be overturned. And so Donald Trump can be held accountable for his crime.
Congress is going to haul Elon Musk, big balls, and a bunch of other people's ass in front and say, what crimes did you commit? And it's going to get really serious. And the same with Trump, because I believe, and this is just my opinion, that Trump and all of the bottom-feeding morons surrounding him and Elon Musk and all the bottom-feeding clinger-oners that surround him, I think they commit crimes every day. And I think to reconcile all of this is going to take hardcore, not integrity Democrats. Fuck you, Democrats. Fuck you for f***ing over our country. We are serious about this. We are prosecuting. We're going to uncover every document, every phone call, everything you did. We will be relentless about it.
And now for the diabolical Trump election scheme. VoteBeat described it this way.
Trump regrets not calling up troops after the 2020 election. What stops him in 2026? There are significant legal and practical barriers to sending the military to polling places, but some officials are still worried. Regrets. We've all had a few. One of President Donald Trump's, apparently, is not directing the National Guard to seize voting machines after the 2020 election in search of evidence of fraud. That revelation, part of a wide-ranging interview with the New York Times on January 7th, commands particular attention in a world where Trump has already sought to push the boundaries of his power, deploying the National Guard to multiple U.S. cities to crack down on protests and crime. The November midterms will be the first federal general election with Trump as president since that 2020 contest, and even before his comments to the Times, plenty of people were already worried that Trump would attempt to deploy the National Guard around the 2026 election. The National Guard isn't necessarily the problem here. The Guard actually has a history of helping with election administration, such as when troops in civilian clothing helped fill in for absent poll workers during the pandemic in 2020. But many Democrats and election officials are worried that Trump could, say, send them to polling places to interfere with voting on Election Day. If troops were to take possession of voting machines or other equipment, it could break the chain of custody and invalidate scads of ballots. And if troops just show up outside polling places, even if they don't try to impede the administration of the election, their presence could still intimidate voters.
And I'll leave you with MS Now and news agents who expertly break down the power-mongering plan by the dark man.
I think this is what he would like to do. And when you say he doesn't want to run for a third term, I think this is what he is planning all along with these ICE raids and wanting to call for an insurrection in most of these places. He wants to normalize military on our streets so he can call for an insurrection so he doesn't have to have elections. So I don't necessarily think that the American people should think this is outrageous. I think this is part of Donald Trump's plan, and it's been part of his plan all along.
It's almost like Donald Trump is trying to engineer the need to have the Insurrection Act imposed. Because if the Insurrection Act is imposed, it means that he has got the right to send federal troops anywhere he likes. He can override any state governor, any city mayor he likes. He puts those troops on the ground. November sees the midterm elections, and it's an elections that the Republicans really can't afford to lose, because obviously if the Democrats have suddenly got control of the House, they're going to launch investigations, the subpoenas will be flying, potentially more indictments. Life is going to become really uncomfortable for the Trump family, for Donald Trump, and for those around Donald Trump. So if you think you can't afford to lose the elections, what you can do is you can't cancel them, but if you've got the Insurrection Act, you could put federal troops in polling stations in certain areas where Democrats have to win and have to win big, and it will drive down turnout.